Hi, this is Russ Anderson. In this tutorial, we're going to take a very basic look at the planar tracking features in SynthEyes. So I've opened up a shot, and we're going to track as if we wanted to do something to this window up here. So we're going to go to the planar tracking room and click the little magic wand there to start creating a tracker. And to do that, we're going to click in 4 different locations, starting in the top left corner. And you'll see that I'm using these inner corners of the window that are pretty nicely lined up. Now as I get to the 4th one, you see all sorts of stuff starts to happen. And what you're looking at is SynthEyes showing you the actual 3D orientation that your 4 tracker points represent. So it's giving you some feedback, not just in 2D, but in 3D. And you see that a lot of these positions really don't make a whole lot of sense. But when you get down here where you need to be, presto, all of a sudden things do look good. And you can go to that spot, click the 4th corner. Now you've got a planar tracker and a 3D planar tracker set up. And so I'll point out that already, as of this instant, we already have something in 3D. So there's no solving, there's nothing else, it's just those 4 corners. You've got a 3D position for it. You've also got a field of view over here. So there are a whole bunch of different options to this. Here you've got something that is pretty straightforward, this nice rectangle. But in fact, this can work with any different shape because you've got the feedback of where your corners are pointing you. And if you have some information about what the field of view is, you can go and put that in and use that as an adjustment. And there's additional options here to go and be able to re-aim the planar tracker. And of course I can go and now modify any of these corners, drag them, fine-tune them a little bit. And similarly, I can go over here in the little tracker mini view and do the same thing. So there's a whole bunch of different options here in SynthEyes, and of course those are for additional tutorials too. But the basic idea is, for starters, we get our planar tracker into the right position, and now I'm going to hold down the Shift key and start to scale it up. As I do that, you see that the field of view value isn't changing at all, because this is actually being done in 3D. It's not a 2D effect. If I let go of Shift now, I can adjust the 2 size axes independently. And again, it is a 3D effect rather than a 2D one. So once I have this where I want it to be, now I can go down here to the play bar and just track this through the entire shot. Now again, I go back to the quad view, scrub through the shot, you'll see it moving around. So now I've got a 3D camera solve based on just this one planar tracker. As with any tracker, once you're done tracking, you want to just lock it up, indicate that you're done. So that's pretty cool. Let's go take a look at it now in the perspective view. Okay, there's our rectangle. Now we're going to lock to the camera view. Here's our rectangle. But oh wait, now there's a different one here also. What's going on? Well, this one is the 3D view of the 2D rectangle. And the issue here is we haven't done anything to make sure that the overall field of view of the camera that the perspective view is using matches up to the view of the planar tracker itself, what it needs to see in order for everything to match up. So to make that happen, we have some handy little scripts. And you'll notice there's this little gear icon here. If I push that button, it brings up a panel that's planar options. It has some additional stuff for other tutorials. But if I hold down Control, push the button, now it brings up the planar tracking window. And that has a bunch of additional little scripts. This is just a standard synthesized script bar. And one of those is save field of view as known. So I click that button, and suddenly that other rectangle went away. It didn't go anywhere except right behind this one. Now those two line up exactly because that script changed the field of view of the camera to match up with what the planar tracker needed to see. So now that everything lines up, now we're ready to be able to go and do an export. So for this purpose here, we're going to export to After Effects. Here's After Effects. I've started it up already and positioned it in the right place. And I'm just showing you this so that you'll understand what happens next. So our next step here, we could actually just go and export to After Effects directly, and we'd have this as a moving object. But instead, we're going to go and run a export preparation script here inside of Synthesize. And what it's going to do is take a look at that planar tracker and flip the scene around a little bit so that it's the camera that's moving and not the planar tracker. Because in reality, of course, the window is standing still. So it makes it more useful to inside of After Effects or whatever your 3D application is, when you have a situation like this. And so we'll run that. And now you'll see that there is a mesh here that is there so that now you can export to any 3D package, and it doesn't have to know anything about planar trackers. It just has the mesh there. And let's go now to the perspective view, the quad view. So now you can see what's happened. The camera is now moving. Our windows are sitting there stationary. So now we can go and export to After Effects. And you might notice there are really quite a few options for that now. One of them that's brand new is this Run Now option. And we're going to just hit the button here, OK. And as we did that, it just loaded the scene into After Effects. So now inside of After Effects, that wasn't a pre-canned window or anything. It was just bam. We've now got our scene. Here is our layer that is the planar tracker. We've got our camera. So let's go in After Effects just to show you here. You have the 4 different views. You've got the moving camera. You've got an After Effects placeholder layer that lets you just go and take some footage. We'll just take a shot here, and you can go and drag that down into the tracker, into that placeholder. That was a alt drag, or I guess it's an op drag on Mac. Just a standard After Effects thing. So now we've got our planar tracker with now a TV display stuck into it. Presto. So there's a real quick monitor replacement into these windows up there. Now with the kind of setup that we just did with the moving camera, that's well positioned for being able to do more detailed 3D effect of adding additional elements into the 3D environment. And it's also what you want to have for adding like a particle effect for some smoke coming out of the window, say, that's sensitive to gravity, that's sensitive to the motion of the emitter. So for a scene like this, you want to have indeed the windows standing still and have it oriented in the right way and so on, so that the smoke can come out appropriately. So this is our first initial example of the 3D planar tracking facilities in Synthesize. There are a ton more options and plenty more tutorials to come. Thanks a lot.